Welcome back gamers to another JGM Gaming video. In this video I'll be showing you a super easy gold farm where you can make around 750 gold per hour, and this is doable on Paladins, Death Knights and Warriors, potentially some other classes too. So we find ourselves today over at the Botanica in Netherstorm. That's this floating thing here on the map. This is one of the best raw gold vendor farms in the game right now, and it'll work even better if you can disenchant the loot as well as I can here. We'll be farming Botanica on normal difficulty, not the heroic version, just the normal version, and working our way through, doing smallish pulls and avoiding the bosses, as I've discovered they aren't worth the time it takes to kill them. The loot that you get from them is just not worth it. You might as well just plow on through, killing all the normal mobs. So you can follow along here doing these small pulls that I'm showing, which is a super safe way of doing this for the most part, and you shouldn't have much issue really at level 80, especially if you have some decent Nax gear. I have 0 Nax gear on this chart and it's still a breeze, so feel free to pull more mobs if you are better geared. With decent gear you can get 12-minute runs in here, which is the optimal time for a total of 5 runs per hour to avoid the instance lockout. As mentioned, I do have enchanting on this character, so I can disenchant any greens, blues, etc. that I find during my run, and I'll be auctioning those materials, but it's not necessary to have enchanting in order to make lots of raw gold from this farm. I'll visit the auction house at the end and show my numbers from the run, and also show you where the nearest vendor is for those who are unaware as well. I do accidentally pull the first boss here, but I recommend you avoid the boss as much as possible. It's not going to be an issue if you do pull her, and it won't cause you to wipe, but it just slows down the time of the runs, and you want to be aiming for those 12-minute runs for maximum efficiency with this. I found that I was experiencing a lot of downtime in here, replenishing my mana and health, and I think the run took me around 17 minutes in total. As I said before, that's purely because my gear isn't great, but that's what makes this farm so good, is that it has such a low barrier to entry. You don't need some insane gear to be able to do this farm. If anyone is curious about the auras and blessings that I'm using here, then it's just Greater Blessing of Sanctuary along with Retribution Aura and Seal of Command for the extra AoE damage. I choose to use either Judgment of Wisdom or Judgment of Light, depending on my mana or health situation and whatever I need the most out of those two things. Other than that, it's very much standard Paladin tanking abilities, keeping Divine Plea up to regenerate mana throughout the fights, Sacred Shield to help mitigate damage, Holy Shield to help block incoming damage, and of course AoEing them down with Consecrate, Hammer of the Righteous, Shield of Righteousness, etc. I mainly use Avenger's Shield and Taunt in order to pull the packs of mobs, and I tend to use my cooldowns whenever they're available, including using Divine Protection to reduce incoming damage by 50% for 12 seconds on some of the bigger pulls. You also don't need any special talents for this farm. My talents are just your standard run-of-the-mill protection Paladin talents for tanking heroics in Wrath, and I will put a link to those talents in the description below for those who might be unfamiliar. I found that I was averaging around 100 gold per run in just looted gold and vendor trash. If I was to disenchant the greens and blues and auction them, which is what I will be doing, then it's closer to 150 gold per run. So if you can hit that 12-minute run mark, which means you're doing 5 runs per hour, then you'll be making between 500 and 750 gold per hour, depending on whether you are purely vendoring everything, in which case it's going to be more towards 500, or whether you're selling the disenchanted mats on the auction house like I do, in which case it's going to be closer to the 750 gold mark. As a added tip, I would recommend bringing along some Wrath health and mana potions, just as an added extra layer of safety in case something goes a little wrong with one of your pulls. They're super cheap to buy, and you'll be making more than enough to cover the cost of buying those anyway. So yeah, I would definitely recommend bringing some of those along for these pulls. So we're nearly finished with the dungeon here. There's just one more pull left in the final boss room, and from my experience, this pull here and the one just before it just tends to drop grey vendor trash, but it is quite pricey stuff, sells quite well to the vendor, so it's definitely still worth doing those last 2 pulls. We'll then run around the boss, as you can see here, where there's a convenient portal just behind him, in order to exit the dungeon and reset before you can then go back in again, making this an even more efficient farm. As you can see, we got plenty of loot here, which I'll be disenchanting, and we'll head on over to the auction house and sell those mats and tally up what I got in order to reach that 150 gold per run. And just really quickly, I said I would show you where the closest vendor is, so if you mount up and just fly over down here, there's a little settlement type thing, and there's a vendor here. You can repair and sell all your loot, all your grey trash. Okay, we're now at the auction house, so it's time for some numbers. I actually just did 2 runs, so this will give me a slightly more accurate average of the loot that you'll get. So starting with Arcane Tome, I got 4 of those for a total of 83 silver. Large Prismatic Shard, I got 3 of those for a total of 29 gold, 37 silver. Netherweave Cloth, I got 107 of those for a total of 12 gold and 84 silver. Greater Planar Essence, I got just 1 of those for 5 gold, 50. Arcane Dust, I got 27 for a total of 39 gold, 69 silver. Super Healing Potion, I got 1 for 67 silver. Warped Flesh wasn't from this run, so I'm not counting that. Sun Fury Signet, I got 72 of those for a total of 17 gold, 93 silver. And Super Mana Potion times 1 for 67 silver, giving us 107 gold and 50 silver. As I said, this was 2 runs, so divide that by 2 and we get 53 gold, 75 silver, and we'll add that to the 96 gold, 25 silver of raw gold and vendor trash that the Kiwi Farm add-on told us we got from just 1 run, and we arrive at 149 gold, 75 silver per run. So that's all for today's video. I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I would appreciate it even more if you would ding that subscribe button right now. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.